your mind as consumers, as electricity user within Abuja, Kefi, Niger State, Nasarawa? Who else can answer this question than Engineer Chijoke Okweke? Is the acting managing director of Abuja Electricity Distribution Company. Welcome to Consumer Watch this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Barrister. Good afternoon, Abuja. Good afternoon, consumers in Nasarawa, Niger, Kogi, and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. It's nice to be here. And Barrister, I must say thank you for this opportunity and thank you for the job you do.
Thank you, sir. I mean, only Abuja Electricity Distribution Company has up to 4 states now. 4 states.
3 states and the Federal Capital.
Three states. Niger, Kogi, Nasarawa, and Abuja. That's almost 4 states. Wherever you are listening to us from, all these states, do you have stable electricity? Is your power supply steady? Do you have issues of vandalism? Do you have issues of contributing, doing community support just to get electricity? The person to answer your question is here in the studio with us. Is the acting managing director of Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, Engineer Chijoke Oyekweke. Let's ask. There are many reports of community being asked to contribute money to replace vandalized transformer. Is this the right thing to do?
Okay. The shame that as a country we are here discussing vandalism.
Wow.
Assets are being deployed to provide service to consumers and to us as Nigerians. But it is a shame that there are people who have made it their duty to destroy and vandalize such assets. I will explain how we get our money or how the market operates. It's called a tariff. So we charge a tariff that ought to accommodate all our costs. The tariff is achieved through a building block system where the regulator identifies what your revenue requirement is. And based on your revenue requirement, your revenue requirement includes your investments in network expansion, your investment in O&M, all these investments, and then your return on capital, losses is factored in, a number of things like that. But the fact is that there is an investment allowed for you, with which the regulator then gives you a tariff.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, does this tariff anticipate the fact that I will have my entire network vandalized?
Yeah, okay.
And you know that it is actually a cost to the DisCos to replace these assets. So most times when these assets are vandalized, we haven't factored it in. Our Abaji does not have power. The entire network, over 150
households,
no, meters of, the first thing they did is they will break the poles. When they break the poles, the entire network will collapse, and then they go and vandalize the conductors. And currently they vandalize like 15 spans of conductor.
Wow.
On that Abaji line. This is the 4th time this year. So are we going to say it's an obsolete network? This is a network that has been vandalized continuously. In fact, we just wrote a letter to the local council, the council chairman. We wrote a letter to NSCDC, and we told them that we will not be able to give power again to Abaji 4 times in a year.
What is it?
So prone to attack. We don't carry arms. So they patrol the feeder at night, they also attacked. So the thing is, it has to be an epidemic for me now. It's something that has to become a national discourse. The Office of the National Security Advisor has also set up a team to look into this because it's a national menace. TCN has the same problem. For us
as a transmission company.
Yes, right? There was a time the biggest, we were hearing towers being vandalized. People will actually go unscrew the bolts on a tower, remove.
What it means is that this vandalism are probably an insider aided vandalism. I mean, What you just told us about unscrewing those high tension cable cannot be done by people who don't have knowledge of those networks.
You will be surprised to know that because there's a whole lot of artisan markets out there that provides ad hoc services to the sector. They are not, for instance, construction of TCN lines are done by contractors, and so they have artisans that work with them. Activities, knowledge can be gotten, and that knowledge can also now be used to exploit the system. But in our own case, we've actually found a lot of instances where the vandals died while vandalizing the network. And most of them are not these guys that go about taking scraps and all that.
My question, and I mean, we are looking at communities that are a little bit outskirts. Let's look at communities within where we see. I mean, in our zones, in area, Gariki, we see where electricity supply is disrupted owing to vandalism or whatever it is. And 2 days, 3 days, the power is not up. People in the estate will usually come together and say, no, how do we get our transformer working? And I mean, we're in this studio sometimes ago when a caller called in and said they asked them to change the oil of their transformer. They changed the oil twice, and I was wondering, as a transformer become a car? So they changed the oil. The thing worked. Somebody went there, removed the oil, they changed it again. These are efforts provided by the electricity users. And so we are saying, is this right that users are the one changing oil on transformer?
No, so if the issue was a maintenance issue, that the transformer is bad and they need to change the oil, we normally take it out. It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility because we have a planned maintenance system for most of our assets. So we have a budget planned for that. What happens in the case of vandalism is that most times these things are not planned for, they are not budgeted for, and then they just happen. So we might tell you, okay, it's not in our budget this month, we might need to wait till the following month when we get fresh administrative OPEX so that we can attend to it. But sometimes, and the truth be told, customers become impatient, they can't wait, and they say, okay, we would support. But the thing I want, or what we must take out of this, is the fact that we cannot be discussing the vandalization of electrical assets in Nigeria, because the DisCos will also run bankrupt
if it continues.
So it's not something I want, and it's not something the customer wants. So
what are you doing about this? Do you think it's something we can take beyond this place and begin to make a serious issue about it? Like you say, you are discussing with National Security Advisor and some of the security agencies so that these issues can be properly addressed.
So I'm happy that it's becoming a national discourse, and my sincere hope is that it brings an end to this menace. But the fact is, it is really a big challenge to Nigeria. I can tell you that early this year, a huge part of Abuja was out of supply for almost 3 months because a very special, scarce cable that feeds the central area transmission station was vandalized. And they had to import that cable. TCN had to import that cable, bring in the guys who were going to do the installation, because it's a very special type of cable. So the fact that, and that's where I want this to rub off on all Nigerians, the fact that we are discussing vandalism and someone feels that when his asset is vandalized, ADC should just come and replace it. It's not palatable, and it's not something ADC can actually continue to accommodate. So a time will come, we will have to say,
Honorable MD, the time frame is within 24 to 48 hours. How practicable? And I mean, you are talking about big cables, big infrastructures now. So can we say what we found in books are just mere paperwork that are not practicable? Because order on structural replacement of faulty and obsolete order by NEC, which governs the Nigerian electricity supply industry, says when there are minor disruptions within 24 hours, it should be restored. When there are a little bit of bigger infrastructure, 48 hours. Is it just a paper?
No, that's the distinction I'm trying to make. I would not categorize vandalism as part of obsolete and faulty equipment. That's the distinction I'm trying to make on the score. Vandalism is a special case. Ideally, if a place is vandalized, the first thing you do is to go report to the police. The police has to investigate, because we want to recover those materials if it's possible. Even though, okay, I would say a very big thank you to the Nigerian police. They've been supportive. Earlier this year, they did help us recover a number of our cables that were vandalized, but it's also a challenge for them recovering it. So replacing those assets immediately is almost not possible. And that's why security is not the job of the AEDC alone. It's a collective effort. As a community, we must all take ownership and secure our assets, because these assets serve us.
The law provides that in the unlikely events, just like you are saying, where the communities actually come together to contribute and replace these transformers or this vandalized or faulty equipment, there should be a refund, what we call credit refund. So, how practicable is this? Has AEDC been faithful to what the law says in respect of credit refunds?
So, for us to come to this level, you're a human rights activist. For us to come to this level of engaging you, it tells that AEDC is an organization that is opening herself for accountability. We are going through a transformation that we see an opportunity to truly serve our customers and hold ourselves accountable for the service level agreements we have signed. I have a policy well documented now that details how customers who have made investments in the network will be paid back. We have that detailed policy document and we are implementing it.
But we have a regulation that
specifies. So from the regulation, you will now build your internal policy, because your policy is engaged. What are the terms? Everything. The regulation just says you will pay them back. But the question is, what's the duration of payback? How will that payback happen? How should the customer make application? So we have a policy around that now.
Honorable MD, sir, meter purchase is such a big challenge. A lot of consumers, a lot of customers complain that they have to buy meters themselves, whereas this meter belongs to the company. Why is this so?
Yes, there is a scheme that allows customer to pay for their own meters, but the law says they must be refunded. Let me apologize on behalf of AEDC. Hitherto, it's been a challenge. I'm not going to come here to lie. Refund for meters had been a challenge. It was not being implemented as stipulated in the regulation. But I'm proud to say that since we came in, we have fixed that. We have started refunding all those who procured meters. We may not have refunded to everyone because of the huge backlog of this refund. We're trying to batch it into the system, but our target is that by the end of first quarter, everybody that has paid for a meter will start getting a refund.
This is good to know. And this issue has caused a lot of, and the company, a lot of dispute, particularly when you see a customer purchase a meter in a premises, and this same customer is moving to another premises. Of course, the customer will feel that he has a right over this meter to take the meter to another environment that he's moving to. What has been your experience in this area?
So that is that once an asset is fixed in a place,
it becomes the asset of the company.
Yes. So that was one of the biggest challenge we had.
Don't you think that you have acquired plenty assets from people?
No.
I mean,
the thing is, and the good thing in that sense is the fact that we have documentation and records of all these assets that have been purchased, meters most especially, who purchased it, and is documented in our system. Now, the issue is if the person has moved out of that premises, how do you tie the payment and the refund to the new premise where the person has moved to? Because the norm would be to do the refund on that meter
that he purchased.
Yes. But with our new KYC, and I want to use this opportunity to encourage our customers, we are trying to update our customer records. So we are doing a KYC, Know Your Customer, where we are updating. So it's not just enough to know the landlord of a premise. And that's why most times you see people would prefer to ask the landlord to procure the meter.
Yeah, and in most cases, these are not done. It's usually done by the tenant.
So it's one of two things. It's either we are able, using the KYC, to identify when a customer moves from a premise to a new premise. If the customer does proper documentation, we should be able to transfer asset and liabilities with the customer.
Wow.
With so the new KYC structure we are implementing.
What you are saying moves from Maitama to Mabuchi. He bought and he has purchased this infrastructure maybe to the tune of 200,000. Now he has moved to Mabuchi. He's a tenant in Mabuchi. He's a tenant in Maitama where he was before. So are we saying that the purchase value of that 200,000 moves with him?
If he does proper KYC, that's why.
Who is responsible for doing the KYC?
It's the customer. So the customer must update his record with us. We must be able to know that this customer is, and that's why when you register those accounts and buy those meters, we ask you to submit your NIN so that you can be, because your NIN number does not change. So you are tied to premise A. By the time you're packing out of premise A and going to premise B, you must come document with us that you've moved out
and
of here.
Notify AEDC that you are moving from premise A to premise B.
And once that is properly documented, we can immediately and easily do an adjustment on the account on premise A and do a corresponding credit adjustment on account premise B, such that you start consuming and getting your.
How long does it take for AEDC to remove power after a major vandalized incident? How long? Can you put a time frame? We know what the law says.
It depends on the extent of vandalism, and it depends on the equipment. It depends on the equipment. It depends on the extent of vandalism. Like what has happened in Abaji now. Nobody's going to ask me to restore Abaji in 24 hours or in 48 hours. When an expanse of over 15 spans of network was brought down, the fourth time in the year. So for me, I don't put a service level arrangement around.
Shouldn't the company be having something like a contingency budget for such issues? I mean, we know it does happen.
That's my position on it. I shouldn't plan, because for me, vandalism is a force majeure, and there are clauses around force majeure even in the regulation. There are clauses around force majeure. It's unplanned. It's not an act of God, but it's an unplanned, unforeseen, and unexpected incident. So I don't tie myself to service level arrangements around vandalized equipment. For me, as a society, we must take a position around it, because we could also say that if an equipment is vandalized, although there's something else we are doing now, which is good, we are insuring our equipment. So we've decided to take a mitigation arrangement and a mitigation plan. So we have active insurance, which we have put in place this year for our equipments that are vandalized. So hopefully, by the grace of God, going forward, it will be easier to deal with. But it still doesn't make it right. But because we now know it's a challenge to our business, we have decided to put an insurance.
They are smiling to bank every day. I'm surprised that you say in the year 2024, 2023, the company runs at loss. I'm surprised. I had the privilege of interacting with one of your top level staffs that says that you make a lot of money from estimated billing. Am I correct?
Penetration of metered customers. We have a deliberate plan to.
What's the percentage of metered customer to unmetered?
We are upward of 70%.
Wow, that's great.
Yes. And as we speak today, talking about metering, We are rolling out 50,000 free meters in Abuja and its environs. We started with Abuja, now we are moving out to Nasarawa, Kogi, Niger. Apart from the 50,000 that is happening, we have another 19,000 MAF, meter asset fund meters, that has just commenced. And these are meters we are putting, and I want to say those meters are completely free. We are using that to quickly close our metering gap. And the mandate from our investors is to ensure that we close 100% of our metering gap by the end of 2026. So in 2026 alone, we are looking at deploying about 200,000 smart meters. So ADC does not enjoy, we personally do not enjoy estimated billing. I personally want to
I must commend you, and I think I must even commend your administration. You complained that they were not metered, and
we have metered everybody.
Yes, and the complaint was protracted. When we brought that complaint to you, you quickly addressed it. Yeah. That's commendable of AEDC. AEDC need to show itself as a more friendly organization, more friendly, more customer-oriented company. You were talking about the finance, how money came in 2024, 2023, and you were trying to say you didn't really make much with the assumption that I was having, that the estimated billing added to your income.
Before I continue on that, I also want to strongly commend the Minister of Power.
Okay.
Because, like I said, the 50,000 meters we are currently rolling out is in partnership with the PE, World Bank, the Minister of Power. So federal government has done a lot in supporting the DisCos, including the metering gap, because the government also is very strongly against estimated billing. We all agree that customers should be properly billed, and when they are billed properly, they should pay for what they've consumed. Now, talking about the issue of ADC making so much money, like I said, in 2023, ADC posted a loss. Many of the DisCos in Nigeria are posting a loss in their books, and what that means is that you do not have funds to carry out the infrastructure upgrade and maintenance and expansion that you need to do. And why is this loss there? It's not as if the energy did not come in. Energy comes in, but when the DisCos are unable to bill for the energy that they've received and then collect for against that bill they have done, then there's a challenge, and the DisCos are unable to. So it's just like someone gives you 10 loaves of bread, and you collect 10 loaves of bread from the bakery, because as a DisCo we buy the energy, and then on your way home you lose 4 loaves of bread.
That's not good.
That's not good. You get, at the end of the day, you sell the remaining 6, and 2 people don't pay. So at the end of the day, you are collecting against 4 loaves against the 10 loaves you bought. That's been the challenge with the DisCos, and that's why there's a whole lot of talk around energy theft, how we must stop energy theft, improve our infrastructure. So it's the chicken and the egg situation. Do we stop the theft and then get enough money to improve our infrastructure and improve our services? Or do we improve our services and then customers will stop stealing? But a thief is always a thief. So we are so focused on cutting the energy loss, cutting the energy theft, so that we can get more funds to improve the service.
Yes, I want to ask, since you assume office as the MD, what are you doing? And has there been arrest? And I mean, because of the way you talked about this issue of vandalism is so prevalent, the recurrent level is so high. Has there been any arrest and prosecution of vandals?
I would say we had a very big break this year. We implemented arrest, and we got them prosecuted, and they were remanded in prison. That was a good one for us this year. But I would also say it's little. It's
compared to
what
the damage they are doing.
Yes. So I am using this opportunity to also call on the NSCDC, who is mainly tasked with the protection of electrical infrastructure.
In general.
Really need their help. We need their support. It's becoming a big challenge. If I keep spending the money I have to replace vandalized equipment, I will never have money to procure new ones, to do expansion, to replace faulty ones. So we must move away from that era of vandalism. Also, I think there should be searchlight into where these vandalized equipment are being sold.
I think that's where I'm going. You recall there was a time in Abuja, that manhole on our street were being removed and taken to somewhere on Kubwa Expressway, particularly a market. A market was identified as where they take those things. Have you been able to identify any market where they take electricity asset to dispose of?
I honestly, personally, don't know. But I think this is where the security experts need to come in. We need to, as a country, identify those involved in this, the markets where this happened, and we put a stop to all such operations. Like I said, the good thing is the National Security Advisor has also taken note of the fact that this is a big menace, and there is decks already being set up in the NSA to address this. So I'm sure with the attention that has gotten to that level, we would see an end to this.
Before now, we don't sympathize with them. Rather, we rain abuse this. We rain abuse this of these guys are taking, like, you know. I mean, hearing your complaint, hearing all the challenges that you go through, and all the particularly in spite of the limited resources that's at your disposal, looking at the huge and enormous responsibility that you have to give power, we begin to sympathize with you. But even in sympathizing with you, don't you think that AEDC itself need to set up some kind of surveillance unit as a company? So this surveillance unit will then be working in collaboration with the communities and with security agencies.
Very true. Just today, did a letter to the commandant of the NSCDC and copied the Commissioner of Police. And what we're asking for is this collaboration to implement proper surveillance across. It's not the first time. Early this year, like I said, the police was very helpful, and that was because we had that collaboration with them, and they did help us recover a number of materials. But we need to deepen that relationship. Yes, I fully agree. We need to be able to map out the hotspots and then get...
I think that's the right word. Look at the hotspots, look at areas that are more prone to being vandalized. And it will amaze you. It will amaze you that right in the city, transformers that are even on the road are being vandalized.
Yeah.
And my office is in area 2. Sometimes ago, transformer was vandalized. And so it's not really about communities in remote areas. Even people who are among the city centers, their transformers are being vandalized.
So there's technology that can be implemented. So
yes.
we had a conversation recently with a company, I won't want to call their name, but they have motion detector cameras that can actually set off an alarm when
those infrastructure are being tampered with.
But it still boils down to funding, and the good thing is we have a roadmap to get AEDC to where it needs to be. The first thing is you have to improve liquidity, because there's nothing that can happen without liquidity. And even investors, if investors are going to bring in money, you must show them a line of sight to say, if you bring in your money, you will get back your money. So the first plan for us is improve liquidity. Once we're able to show that we are a viable consign, investors will bring in money. When investors bring in money, we know the things that needs to be done. We know that infrastructure needs to be upgraded. We know that we need to deploy more technology, both for addressing losses, addressing vandalism. These technologies already exist. We will bring them in. There's a complete roadmap, and we are working that map. And I'm happy to say that I don't want to blow my trumpet, but AEDC is on the right path.
Yeah. I'm really glad. That's the way to go. That's the way to go. There is no any other way to protect all this infrastructure than through technology. You talked about motion detector cameras. I mean, they will really be helpful. This yellow type period, people need electricity supply in their homes. But let's talk about penalties for AEDC, for distribution companies that are not compliant. Do you want to talk about that? Has AEDC been penalized before?
Sadly, yes. We've been penalized. the biggest penalty we've had also is on the issue of estimated billing. And so it tells you that the regulator is actually coming hard on the distribution companies to close out their metering gap and put an end to estimated billing. So, like I said, we are very focused on putting an end to that. But yes, that's been many other indicators. We have really improved our service, but the issue of estimated billing, we're still having some challenges because we have unmetered customers, but we are focused on closing that out.
I was going to ask you that, do you receive agencies, communities, and traditional rulers in your community? You said some few things in that respect. I want you to shed more light.
Okay, and it can be better. So for us, stakeholder engagement is now a critical part of our business. It was never so in the past, but we've seen that collaborating with communities, collaborating with traditional rulers is one way that we can both provide adequate security for our equipment and also get seamless collaboration in terms of customer paying, in terms of doing away with bypass and all that. So there's a whole lot of sensitization we are doing now. There's a whole lot of engagement, explaining to them why the more they do away with all these infractions, the easier it is for us to give them power. So there are communities that term as high loss, and because of the level of losses in those communities, we limit the volume of energy we give to them. But we've also seen that engaging them and explaining this mentality that the more you steal, the less power you get, because nobody pours water into a basket. So I think that engagement is starting to work.
Yes, does that explain why in some communities they get light, loads are shared, or I don't know.
Yes, load shedding.
So you get light one day, the next day you are off. You get light another day. I don't understand how that works.
It's not always because of
vandalism or theft.
Yes, it's not always because of losses. Another reason for that is also overloaded infrastructure. I'll give you a typical example. The Lugbe axis has suffered very serious epileptic power supply for a while, and that's because in that entire axis there is no transmission station that brings in bulk power. So we have to run very lengthy lines from Gwagwalada and Kukwaba to serve the Lugbe axis, and it's been a challenge, but we're working with TCN to see how quickly they can complete the Lugbe transmission station. So today, anybody staying in Lugbe, Picasa, those axes will complain of load shedding, not because of high losses, but actually because the network feeding there are overloaded.
Some of our colleagues are already listening to you now. Maybe this Christmas will not be. Maybe this Christmas will not be so interesting with the way they.
But the good thing is that
we know that this is the challenge. So Lugbe is being so terrible in terms of.
So I didn't need you to say it. I said it because I know, and it's because it's also dear to my heart. We are doing everything possible to deload that network.
So at the point of AEDC coming in, and to my mind, I thought that AEDC as a company had its due diligence. They knew the nature of the infrastructure on ground, and they are bringing a lot of investment into this sector. But what we have seen over the years, we are not seeing an injection. We are seeing a company that seeks to say, no, we are not going to bring in our money, but rather we will allow you bring in the money we will use to improve it must come from you. That's what we are seeing.
No, a lot of reason why the kind of investments the customers expected in coming, and one of the biggest reasons was the non-cost reflective tariff.
So till date we are still on no cost reflective.
No, so that's why now we are talking about deployment of 200,000 meters. We are talking of
the issue of cost. I challenged that issue in court. that the cost itself before implementation was not properly done. So you know, but I thought that the present cost as it regards particularly band A is cost reflective.
Yes.
So
that's what I'm explaining. Now, with the posture of the regulators now to allow cost reflective tariff, meaning that when investments are made, the investor has a supporting tariff that will help him recover that investment. With that new posture from the regulator, investments are starting to come in. And that's why we can proudly say that next year we are looking at the deployment of 200 smart meters. We can say today that we are looking at doing serious network reconfiguration and upgrade that will deload a place like
Honorable Chijoke, thank you very much. You've done a wonderful job. We've looked at all these several aspects, and I begin to sympathize, like I said, with the company. The company need to do more sensitization of the public. The public needs to know that they also have a responsibility to keep this infrastructure running so that they can enjoy maximum electricity supply. I'd like us to give us your parting shot. What should we expect this period, this festive period? Consumers want to have 24 hours electricity supply, particularly the consumers that are on band A. Please, your parting shot.
First of all, once again, I want to say a very big thank you to our numerous wonderful consumers and customers. Customers, I don't like using the word consumers. A very big thank you. Wishing you guys a very Merry Christmas in advance.
Yeah.
AEDC is a company that is transforming herself, and the transformation happening in AEDC is geared towards improving our service towards you, our darling customers. And I want to commit that as we move into the Yuletide, our teams are highly energized and
they're working around the clock
to make sure that you enjoy your Christmas with quality, reliable power supply. We have our handles, we have our numbers. Reach out to us when there are faults, and we promise we will
promptly
attend to them. I'm also very reachable and approachable. Customers reach out to me personally.
Wow, that's interesting.
If I call myself the chief customer service,
that's interesting. I mean, there's no better way. There's no better way.
Yeah,
there's no better way.
Look, I see a very bright future for the Nigerian power sector.
Wow.
I see a very bright future for customers in our franchise area, and like I said, we have a very well worked out plan to get to that level of service delivery, and it is going to start this Christmas.
Wow. This is a promise from the managing director of Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, Engineer Chijoke. Thank you very much for those assuring words.